I've been depressed lately, so I figured why not take that depression and redirect it towards books so that I'm not dealing with my own problems. I'm dealing with the problems of fictional characters. Elsie Porter, who is an average 20-something, what happens to her is anything but ordinary. One rainy New Year's Day, she heads out to pick up a pizza. And she isn't expecting to see anyone else in the shop, but there she meets Ben Ross. Their chemistry is instant and electric. Ben cannot wait 24 hours before asking to see her again. Within weeks, the two are head over heels in love. By May, they've eloped. 9 days later, Ben is riding his bike. He's hit by a truck and killed on impact. Elsie hears the sirens outside her apartment, but by the time she gets downstairs, he has already been whisked off to the emergency room. At the hospital, she must face Susan, her mother-in-law, she has never met, who doesn't even know Elsie exists. Well, I mean, the first couple pages, she just throws you right in. How is this gonna be happy? This is not gonna be happy. It's not gonna be happy. Her prose really shine in her descriptions. The main character is waiting for her husband to come home, and half an hour had passed, and she just had racing thoughts. Why isn't he home? He's not answering his phone. Like, where is he? And all these thoughts of catastrophic thinking. And then she hears the sirens, and all of a sudden, no thoughts. Those racing thoughts are just gone. But it's like the eye of the storm. That moment where everything is just slow and still and quiet right before the storm hits. And then it'll all come racing back. Just that distinction with the quieting of the racing thoughts. Usually an author will say her mind quieted as she heard the sirens, but she didn't even have to say it. Such a natural transition, and I love her books. Just feel so real and natural because she doesn't over explain things, she doesn't tell you things. She lets the reader picture it for themselves and infer what's going on, and it makes it so much more impactful. Yes, it's a different day. Yes, we're back in the car. This is what I have to deal with. Okay, I commute to school. So most of the days out of the week, I am just sitting in my car between classes. I am 50% through, and y'all, I'm bored. At its heart, this story is about getting that fresh wave of grief, that initial impact that it just feels so cataclysmic in the moment, and even for days, weeks afterwards. But then we see slowly that grief starts to ebb away, break apart the old self, making way for your improved self. Within all of these major events and turning points in our lives, we improve as a person. We always learn something, even if we don't realize it. There is no plot to this book. It's about how the different people that were a part of Ben's life are affected by his death. And then everyone that is a part of their lives. Our main character's friend, Anna, because her friend who was married to Ben is all torn up about this, obviously. Anna is having to take care of her friend. And so she's affected indirectly by this. really that's what it's about. It's about like how this grief directly and indirectly affect different people in different ways and to different extremes. I think we're gonna move on to the next book. Really sad to have DNF'd this. If you ended up really enjoying this book, let me know why. Harriet and Wynne have been the perfect couple since they met in college. For one vibrant blue week, they leave behind their daily lives. Only this year, Harriet and Wynne are lying through their teeth while trying not to notice how desperately they still want each other. They can't stand to break their friends' hearts, and so they'll play their parts. After years of being in love, how hard can it be to fake it for 1 week? I've noticed a little detail that I think really adds to the immersion and atmosphere and overall tone of the book. I feel like it's more of a subtle detail that was very purposeful on Emily Henry's. We are working with a dual timeline, so it goes between the past and the present when Harriet and Wynne first meet, and then the present when they're obviously forced back together after their breakup. The present timeline is called Real Life. The past timeline is called Happy Place. I think that is a very interesting distinction because it makes me feel like Harriet was in a better place in her life when she was first meeting Wynne, and that their meeting and their building of this relationship feels like more of a dream now. Calling the present timeline Real Life makes me think that she has been pulled out of this dream-like state. She's not a romantic anymore, and she's not doing as great. It really sets the tone of how much she has changed as a person through this relationship and breakup. Excited to see how she will grow from it as well. All my life, when I thought of my future, that was what I pictured. Not a career, the things I thought would come with it. Happiness, love, safety. And that dream had been enough for a long time. What was school if not a chance to earn your worth? To prove again and again that you were measurably good? One more deal I struck with a disinterested universe. If I'm good enough, I'll be happy, I'll be loved, I'll be safe. Instead, I've pushed away everyone I love. Maybe not, and it doesn't ever have to be. If you don't want that, but that's the point. Your job doesn't have to be your identity. It can just be a place you go that doesn't define you or make you miserable. You deserve to be happy. Everything's better when you're happy. Things change, but we stretch and grow and make room for one another. Our love is a place we can always come back to, and it will be waiting the same as it ever was. You belong here. This book. Let's talk about it. I'm giving it a 3.75. I can see why people rate this very highly and enjoyed this because the ending was fairly emotional, but I don't think it makes up for the rest of the book. I was this close to DNFing this book. The only reason I kept going was because it's an Emily Henry book. Of all her other books that I've read by her, I do not really care for this one, mostly because there's two reasons why I wanted to DNF this book. Sabrina. I don't want to throw hate on Sabrina, but I didn't like her as a character. Again, at the end, we do get some insight into why she acts the way she does, and you know, our main characters forgive her for her actions, but I just thought she was a bad friend. And this sounds so petty, and I know I've read the book, I know what the arguments are going to be, but she just guilt tripping them the entire time. I mean, even in the past chapters where Wynne and Harriet are just getting together, right after the moment where Wynne and Harriet announced their relationship. And so Sabrina answers with this. Instead of being happy for them and congratulating them, she answers with this. You know, that now that you're finally together, you can't ever break up, right? The pressure's on whether we admit it or not. If they break up, this implodes. And then later she says, we're already playing with fire here. I really, really cannot lose this. This is my family. Like, can't you just be happy for your friends? Why do you have to make everything about you? I really liked Cleo as a friend and as a character, but Sabrina, she acted so immature. And that brings me to my second point. The immaturity level in this book of full-fledged adults was insane. Not in a good way. In a way that I was icked out. They literally spend multiple chapters taking edibles, getting high, and doing stupid stuff for no reason. That made me very uncomfortable. It was unnecessary, immature use of weed. And I mean, they have their place in books, but in a very specific setting. Was Daisy Jones and the Six. That takes place in an era of history where, you know, that kind of behavior was more common. And so it makes sense in that book because you're creating this atmosphere. Here, it was completely unnecessary and uncalled for. This did not make me cry. In case you couldn't tell, I had some issues with it. It's not looking good, Chief. It ain't looking good.
Can you keep a secret? I grew up sick. Let me clarify. I grew up believing that real love stories include a martyr or demand great sacrifice to be worthy. Because of that, I believed it. Because I made myself believe it. When I lived this story, my own twisted fairy tale, it was unbeknownst to me at the time because I was young and naive. Triple Falls wasn't at all what it seemed, nor were the men that swept me under their wing. But in order to keep them, I had to be in on their secrets. Secrets that cost us everything to keep.
Am I a heartless monster? I finished Flock and literally nothing. I mean, the ending was surprising, but it didn't make me cry. It didn't even make me tear up or feel sad at all. Nothing. Looks like the second book is where people really get sad, but I feel like I should have felt something for our characters at the end of the first book. That's where we're sitting right now. Flocka's very interesting. I have my notes on the side, so if you see me glance back and forth, that's why. We open up on a scene of our main character Cecilia arriving into this small town called Triple Falls, I believe. It's revealed to us that she's been here before. The last time she was here, she was working for her dad for a year, and while she was there, she met a few boys that live together. We have Dominic, Tyler, and Sean, and they all live together and call each other brother. They're not related at all, but they recognize each other as brothers, and she gets into a relationship with Dominic and Sean. They are very mysterious people. It's very clear throughout the entire book that they are keeping a huge secret from her, and it becomes her purpose to figure out what their secret is and whether she can trust them or not. It doesn't help that the entire book they keep asking her, can you keep a secret? And for some reason, every time she answers, they are not satisfied with how she answered, and they're like, nope, you're not, we can't trust you just yet. It isn't until about 70% in where things start ramping up. They go to a party, and that's really where she starts to put some pieces together. And then obviously the ending of the book is very open-ended. She doesn't really end on good terms with anybody. I went into this thinking it was just going to be a emotional small town romance like Archer's Voice, but it is very much not that. There's a lot more going on, even if it was mostly in the background in the first book. There's so much intrigue. Having that constant reminder that there's something bigger at hand here really drove the plot forward. Even though there was really no plot until like 70% in, it drove the reader forward to want to keep reading and want to figure out what this mystery is with Cecilia. The other part of it is just knowing throughout the entire book that in the prologue, we were in the present time where she comes back after the fact. The entire book, after the prologue, takes place in the past. It's essentially her telling us the story of what she did and of these boys. When you really stop to think about it, there are so many layers going on here. They're just put together so well that you don't even notice. You don't get overwhelmed with all the stuff going on. Texas, 1934. Millions are out of work and a drought has broken the Great Plains. Farmers are fighting to keep their land and their livelihoods as the crops are failing, the water is drying up, and dust threatens to bury them all. One of the darkest periods of the Great Depression, the Dust Bowl era, has arrived with a vengeance. In this uncertain and dangerous time, Elsa Martinelli, like so many of her neighbors, must make an agonizing choice: fight for the land she loves or go west to California in search of a better life. The Four Winds is an indelible portrait of America and the American dream as seen through the eyes of one indomitable woman whose courage and sacrifice will come to define a generation. I am 39% through this book right now. I have never had more thoughts racing through my head with nothing to say. I'm at a loss for words. I mean, the utter despair of the world our characters are living in of the era they are having to go through. And it all happened. This all happened in real life not that long ago. Not even 100 years ago. The reason the crops are dying and the earth really started dying was because these farmers growing their wheat got rid of all of the topsoil. Not a soil scientist, but as far as I know, the topsoil is what really has all the nutrients, especially in a wasteland like Texas. They are having to wear gas masks so they can actually breathe without breathing in a lot of dust, and people are getting pneumonia because their lungs are just filling up with dust. People are abandoning their families to go move out west to California. So the government comes along. He tells them the government's plan to reinstate the topsoil. In the farmer's perspective, these people who have lived here for generations and put their entire life into farming and growing wheat, this is just their stubborn opinion. That's it. You brung us all the way down here to tell us the disaster is our fault. We need to plant grass, which ain't a crop that makes money, and land too dry to grow anything, in a drought, seeds we can't afford, and oh yeah, kill your last living farm animal for 16 lousy bucks. The way that Kristen Hanna does it, she makes it so alive. She makes it feel so real. We know people actually went through this by applying real human emotion and situations to it, and heartache. It makes it so much more effective, and I have teared up multiple times already. So, The Four Winds. You probably saw me crying last night. I took extensive notes about this. One of the things that really stuck out to me about The Four Winds and just historical fiction books in general is the fact that they feel like the plot of a fantasy novel, or more specifically a dystopian novel. With the Dust Bowl and the what they called Black Sunday, it was like tons of topsoil just came barreling down on the entirety of Texas, and it suffocated people, it tore up houses. It was an incredible feat of nature, but it was incredibly destructive as well. Felt like the earth itself was trying to purge all of life from the planet. It was scary, but it was real. This really happened. People really went through this, and it's just absolutely incredible to me that, I mean, I know like fantasy books, dystopian science fiction, all of that, it's based in fact, and you know, you have to take inspiration from the real world. The last thing I said about the book, right after I finished it, just my initial reaction was hope, and how well Kristen Hanna manipulates it. It is such a delight to see how she is able to draw emotion from these fictional characters and draw emotion from us towards these fictional characters. She takes this piece of history, you know, we read about it in school, we learn about it in school, but she makes it interesting, she makes it entertaining, she makes it feel important. I wrote, she's masterful at building anticipation. Doggo? Oh! He's got the zoomies, he's running laps around. She is masterful at building anticipation and a message of hope before snatching it away, just to renew it in the next chapter. She tells us the world is bleak, but teaches us to hold our head high despite it. She shows us why we should. And I mean, not to toot my own horn, but I think that encapsulates her writing style with a nice little bow. I'm giving this book a 4.5 stars. It just wasn't as thrilling to me. The stakes didn't feel as high, maybe. I feel wrong saying, because, you know, it's an actual event that happened in history, and I know that experiencing it firsthand, the stakes were incredibly high. People actually committed suicide. And they killed their entire family. So I don't want to take away from that by saying it wasn't exciting enough for me, but the fact remains I didn't cry that much. I teared up, but I was not full out ugly crying like I was promised. The question still remains, am I a heartless soul? Can books really make me cry? Well, there's only one way to find out.
In my reflection, I see beauty after all. I'm not afraid of the cracks in my soul. They've paved the way to make.
Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Remember, you are amazing. You are awesome. You do amazing things. You are so brave. You are kind, even though it may not always seem like you are or have the energy to be. Even just doing the small things like getting out of bed, getting dressed, brushing your teeth, that takes an incredible feat and effort to do. Celebrate the small victories. Let yourself rest. And I'll see you soon. Bye.